Hey everybody, it's April, and as we come close to the end of detox, I wanted to post a quick video that will explain the meal plan for what we call phase 2. So it would be the fat shredding portion of your 21-day challenge, or basically 2 weeks of a fat shredder type meal plan. And it's a lot similar to detox. We're actually going to step incrementally back into some of the foods that you've been eating, but certainly also staying away from some as you learn that your body does better without some of these. So let's start with proteins first. That's the best part, is that after detox you do get to increase protein. So everybody on this 21-day challenge seems to be non-vegetarian. If you are, you'll just need to private message me so I can talk about how to incorporate incomplete proteins to make them complete and do combinations. But for everybody else, you're still going to stick with some lean proteins like fish and chicken and things like that that would be best picked if they're organic. And then you can add red meat back in, just add it in sparingly to start, so maybe once a week would be okay. And please do be sure that it's grass-fed, because we still are staying away from grains, and in general, when you do eat red meat, you want to make sure that it is grass-fed. But beef does stay in your system longer, but a lot of us do really well eating red meat, so it's really about how you feel and, just making sure that when you do eat red meat, it's not a, Fred Flintstone steak, so that it doesn't stay in your belly and in your gut for a long time, starting to kind of decompose. You want to eat things that are going to, exit your system, sort of quickly and be utilized for the nutrients. The veggies are always the mainstay. You're going to keep those at 8 to 12 servings a day, remembering that the more of these foods that you eat first, the less hungry you're going to become, the more alkalized you're going to become, and it's going to feel so good when you don't have those kinds of cravings that are driving your behaviors. Fruits are going to decrease a little bit. So instead of having up to 3, you're going to keep those 1 to 2 at most. So you're going to still stay with the berries, the apples, the pears, the grapefruit, those things that are maybe the best picks for you. But certainly you could add in other fruits. It's just remembering that the tropical type fruits and melons are always going to be higher glycemic, as are bananas. And then in the case of a banana, usually a full-size banana is actually 2 servings, not 1. One of the ways that I use bananas is we get them, and right before they're just turning ripe, we actually cut them into quarters and we put them into wrap or tin foil and put them in the freezer, or Ziploc bags without any air, that type of thing, because those can be really great for putting into shakes or smoothies to be able to make them a little bit more sweet, instead of just, eating a full banana when you feel hungry, which has a lot of sugar and carbohydrates in it. Now, we're not eating low carbohydrate, because if you are getting the amounts of fruits and vegetables that you do need, you're still getting about 50% of your calories coming from a carbohydrate source. The cool thing this week is that you could add, if you'd like, a little bit of the starch to your vegetables. So while with Fat Shredder, this 2 weeks, we're still trying to stay very lean. If you need on occasion some sweet potato, some spaghetti squash or something, adding in small portions of that would be absolutely fine. It might really just be the thing that makes you feel like, you're not hungry, or it's really helping to have a little bit more energy. But always go with the proteins and the vegetables first. That's sort of the rule of thumb. Then we have fats, and please remember, fats do not make us fat. There's a great new book by Mark Hyman. I can't remember the title of it, but it talks about like eat fat, get thin, or something like that. And the good fats are so important, not just for our cognitive function and to make us feel full, for our skin, for neurotransmitters, for just so many different things, our mood. But they're just so important. And so avocados, olive oil, ghee, different kinds of grapeseed or avocado oils are fantastic. So just make sure that you're still getting in at least 2 servings or so of that a day. And if you go over a little bit in avocado, it shouldn't be a problem at all. People usually ask about nuts and seeds, and we're still going to try to keep those out. But if you do feel like having a little unsweetened almond milk or a few raw almonds, remembering that any kind of nut, as soon as you heat it, so any kind of roasted, salted nut is going to take away all of the good fat. More on that later. But if you want to roast a nut by yourself, you certainly can do that. Just put it into the oven for about 10 minutes on a lower heat with some Himalayan or sea salt, and you're going to roast a nut yourself. So maybe just having a couple of those things around. The problem with nuts is that a few weeks into making a behavior change, though we're not doing dairy, I do find that people grab cheese and they grab nuts as like their go-to, and that's really not the kind of behavior change that you want to make. So those aren't the habits that we want to keep. But nuts obviously have some good qualities to them, but they can still be a little bit rough on the GI tract. So if you are somebody who really wants to get the fastest results, still try to keep nuts out or to a very, very minimum. All right, so that means we're taking out still dairy, legumes, beans, grains. That also means that peanuts, which are technically a legume and not a nut, are also not indicated for this 2 weeks. We're still going to stay away from alcohol. And the only dairy that we would be putting back in would be from the TLS nutrition shake, because the other supplements you can now start. So those nutrition shakes, I'm putting them in the food category. I'm going to do another video on supplements, but the shakes kind of go both ways. They're both a supplement and can also be kind of considered food as either a snack or a meal replacement if you're on the go. A great way to use those shakes, they are literally awesome just to mix with water and ice in a blender bottle or in a blender or a Ninja or whatever. But if you do add some, spinach or kale or something, you won't taste it, and it's a great way to get in some added vegetables. They also, even though they don't freeze like ice cream, what we've done is taken Dixie cups and maybe put in, a little bit of almond butter or just put some spinach in there or whatever, and we freeze it with the chocolate so that if you take it out at dinner time and you were looking for just a little something sweet at the end of the night, that's a great way to just sort of start to let that melt, and it's like having a little ice cream treat. But I am going to post an awesome recipe for quote-unquote ice cream for at the end of your fat shredder, 2 weeks of this 21-day challenge. That's really cool, and it's a way to have it without having ice cream, so to speak, without having actual dairy. So you guys are doing great. I'm so excited about all the results. Please continue to stay engaged. If you want to continue with the lemon water, you definitely can do that. A lot of people do ask that question as well. So you can, it's very alkalizing. It's still really good for cravings and to do a gallbladder flush. So you don't have to stop that because of detox. But look for the next video that's going to be on the supplements next so that you learn which ones you're supposed to be taking now. Have a great day.